it's Tomm Stanley from Stonefield Musical Instrument Company. I'm coming to you today with special guest, Mr. Jon Liebman of JonLiebman.com, for BassPlayersOnly.com, for GuitarPlayersOnly.com, and Notehead Media. John, have I forgotten anything?
That was great, Tom, and so was this bass.
That's good. Oh, thank you, John.
I haven't had much time with the Stonefield basses, just here and there at a NAMM show,
Yeah,
so I'm
right.
very happy to be able to spend a little time.
Yeah, this is cool. We've got John coming at you today on an M series bass. We're going to work through some of the features, control settings, some of the different bits and pieces on the bass. Oh, no!
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. Get it?
Yeah, well, we'll be back to that.
Maybe.
Yeah, so you can see the difference here. John's now the interviewee. That's a bit of a change, isn't it?
It's
fun.
fun.
So let's see if you can behave. Okay, so we're going to work through with the M series bass. John's going to have a walk around. It really is his first solid impression of an M series bass. He stopped into our stands at most of the shows we've done over the last couple of years. John and I have developed a pretty good working relationship over the time.
And friendship.
And friendship. And he's been interviewing some of our artists. And we always catch up for a beer and a chat while we're at the show, so it's been great.
And I'm waiting for that invitation to visit New Zealand.
Ah, right, it's out there. It's a standing invite.
Is it?
It is.
Well, great.
All right, so we are going to work through the M. John, I guess, like we discussed, the format will just be you playing, making some changes, asking me, you know, what the heck did I just do, Tom? Because there's a lot of controls on the M series bass. And I think to start the video, I'll just walk through the controls for the sake of the viewers.
Sure. Do you want to do that while I play, or do you?
We got a volume control down here, standard volume control stuff. We've got a tone control here, which is wide open. Give her a snap. And we can roll that off. It's all right, standard stuff there. One of the more innovative, unusual controls that we've got is the low frequency roll off. I can bring this around, and I can make it almost uselessly thin, but it's really nice if you're a chord player to be able to lighten it up, or to just find that sweet spot that you want. But as we've discussed, the magic starts up here with the mid-range control. Right now we're in...
Magic starts right.
The magic starts in your fingers, okay. The mid-range control right now is bypassing. As John's playing, we can come around and select any of 5 settings here that remove a mid-range frequency from the signal path. At any one of those settings, back here on the low frequency control, we've got a push or a pull that alters the mid. And I guess that's enough for me as like an overview of the control circuit. The instrument features the Tomm Stanley tailpiece tuning system. We've got the 3-piece floating wooden bridge, beautiful natural timbers on the M series bass. All kinds of high-spec timbers on these, lots of little detail features. It's our flagship. It's the premium model that we produce.
We wrote a story about this, by the way, on ForBassPlayersOnly.com. You did a special news story because it is patented. It's your baby. Yeah. It's your invention.
Yeah, we've got the. In 2016, we got the New Zealand patent early on, and then we got the U.S. patent in, I think it was October.
Excuse me, I know you live in New Zealand, but you're an American. Just say patent, because that's the way we're all used to hearing it.
You'll find me kind of fading in and out of different terminologies, yeah. I'm sorry, I can't say patent anymore. It just doesn't. Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
it's funny. My wife is from Canada, so sometimes
you know some of this.
She could, yes.
Yeah. Okay. But we got the U.S. patent in, I think it was October and November of 16. All right. And we're right now in what should be the last reply process in the EU system, which once we get the acceptance there, then that opens up in all the individual countries, and that becomes a bit of a minefield. But yeah, so it's made its way around the world. We've got protection and coverage on it, and it's gotten rave reviews, and I love using it. Okay.
It would take me some getting used to, because my natural inclination is to go, oh, there's no tuning machines.
That's right. That's right. So just friction stays at the headstock. They hold the strings on. When you first wind the string on, it allows you, with the use of a tailpiece tuning system, to use any string you want. You don't have to use double balls. You don't need to worry about clamping mechanisms up on the top. The strings are wound on when the strings are changed to about a half pitch below the target for the string. You finish your tuning down here, and depending on the string, you have 4 to 5 pitches of tuning adjustment.
Standard scale length?
34-inch scale length. Good. You do use 36-inch scale strings, though, because we got a bit of extra string reach back here to accommodate the tailpiece. But again, one thing I kept in mind with the design was versatility. You can use any brand of string you want. any of the major manufacturers offer a 36-inch scaling string in all of their popular formulations. So, yeah, player preference on strings.
Versatility is important. It's funny with the 500 or 600 bass players I've interviewed. Some of these guys would say, "Oh, I have 200 basses," and I'd say, "Okay, but I bet even within that collection, there's probably the same 2 or 3 that you go to every time immediately." And they say, "Well, yeah." So versatility is important, but I've also interviewed people that say, I have one knob on my bass, who was from Faith No More, but all he has is a volume control.
That's all he needs. That's his voice. That's his voice, right?
And he's not the only one that has said that.
Yeah.
I like the versatility because I've played a lot of shows. I've played a lot of different Broadway shows with the upright and with the electric. I've played rock shows. I've done all kinds of stuff. So you need to get the right sound. But I'm not much of a gearhead, and I don't like to spend a lot of time fooling around with all the different. So it's good once you're familiar with the different kind of electronics. It's good because Jeff Berlin is another example.
Oh, yeah, when you just said about the bass, I thought of your interview with Jeff, right? How many basses does Jeff own?
One. That's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And he's just so matter-of-fact about it. I have one bass, that's all I need. It serves me well. Throws it in the cargo thing at the airport. If it shows up, it's in tune, it's fine.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
It's good to have that, but I think you've got a good palette here for somebody who knows what they're looking for. Somebody like me who's a little technically challenged might take a little time to figure out what I want.
Right.
But it's good to know that it's in there somewhere.
You can find your voice in there. That's one of the things other players have said to me too. We can go from a Fender Precision to a Fender Jazz to a Music Man to an old Rick to a Vox. It's all in here. And really it's between that knob and that knob that you make all the main changes that would give you those nuances. Other than that, it's a volume and a tone control.
Can you go from a bright, slapping, crisp sound to like a Motown type?
Well, let's give it a go. You're in the bypass mode right now. We're wide open, and the tone control's right up, so it's going to be as snappy as you're going to get in that mode. Not particularly shocked, but good. Beautiful, Jocko.
I wasn't going for the Jocko tone, though. It just happens to be what I was looking for more.
So you want Jocko tone, you want that jazz kind of tone. Let's come around a few.
I just made that up. It's going to be a big
It's
hit.
going to be a hit, I think, yeah. So we're going to like a bridge pickup jazz kind of sound with that one. So what I've just done is I've moved this mid around to just the last setting, actually, the most aggressive mid-range notch, and then I roll off a bit of the low frequency, and that gets you into that like single coil bridge pickup kind of sound. You can go thinner if you want. It does get a little useless. You have to turn the amp up a bit more to carry on like this.
Yeah.
So then your next sound calls for some good old Jamerson. Nice. So that's a pretty good example of the wide scope and everything in between. One of the cool things we can do with this mid-range filter is if we take any of these settings, we like the way this sounds, but we want to thin it out a wee bit, pop this push-pull, and now we really start to get quite a hollow mid sound. So this push-pull, when it's up, is hollower, maybe thinner if you want to call it. If I push it down, she'll just fatten up. Bit of a volume boost and a fattening effect.
I like the fat effect. But
Yeah, there you go. And this is it, John. It's the personal choice thing. You'll find your voice.
What if I wanted something like...
Probably roll off some of the highs. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you're listening for. If there's more to do.
A little more low end.
A little more low end. Has that got it for you, or would you like to change something
That's
else?
good. What if you wanted to...
What do you have? Do you want it cleaner? Try probably want to turn up the amp a bit on this setting because we're engaging a lot of componentry in the instrument. As we engage the electrical componentry, it's passive, so we want it with a signal cut.
So how about a good slapping sound?
You're onto it right there. That or
Strings.
yeah, well, the strings were put on a couple months ago, so unfortunately it's been a demo instrument.
This bass has terrible time.
Oh, jeez.
Terrible groove. The other thing that I
Some
noticed,
things can't be built into the instrument.
the other thing I noticed is that I was telling you before, off camera, before we started this, about another brand of bass that always feels like it's, that I feel like I have to play it like this. And
Right.
this is more comfortable, it's just a little bit different from what I'm used to. It's almost
Yeah.
like going from an electric to an upright or from one upright to another. Each bass has its own thing, its own space.
How it sits and feels. We've designed them for balance too, let go of it. Crazy, how's that, huh? So this is where we've got the neck position in relation to the curve of the body, where the tail piece sits. We run titanium truss rods, so we take all that weight out of the neck that you normally have as a steel truss rod. Just the ergonomics and the design of the instrument to try to bring balance in, and that's of course going to shift your neck position.
Yeah, I notice it's a little bit heavier than it looks. Can I
Okay.
say that?
Yeah, of course you can. Look, I don't profess to make lightweight basses, I profess to make good sounding basses.
And that you do. Okay.
But I believe in the tonality of the wood. We bring that wood mass in. As you can feel too, a pretty generous profile in the neck.
Yeah.
There's wood there that contributes to the tone of the instrument. If you keep peeling that wood away, going for those skinny little necks, what do you got to do? You got to put carbon fiber rods inside the neck. Well, what's that doing? It's just eating the tone that would naturally be contributed by the wood. So we leave a bit more. It's not a thick neck, but it's quite a round profile on the neck. That allows that wood to contribute to the tone.
And this wood is what?
This one's North American walnut on the top, New Zealand black miry on the fingerboard, with a Jara fine line and an ebony, Solomon Island ebony, thick edge on it.
Wow.
This is a New Zealand black miry 3-piece bridge, and we use a Solomon Island ebony nut. In all of our instruments, wooden bridges, wooden nuts. Get the metal out of the vibrating pathway of the string, and you immediately improve your tone.
Where are they assembled?
In New Zealand.
Okay.
These are the M series. They're handmade at our New Zealand workshop.
And the pickup is yours also?
The pickup I purchased it, I call it an OEM humbucker. It's another one of these things, like we do our own brand of strings, right? Somebody makes, I don't sit there and wind strings. We're on reciprocal confidentiality agreements with some of these manufacturers because they
With
make...
who? Sorry.
Some of these manufacturers, because they make for everybody. They don't want to be known. So unfortunately I can't tell you where I buy that from. But it's a typical, about a 9,500 ohm humbucking bass pickup. And that's about as much as I can say about it.
All right. What about, did we do a jazz sound too, like a walking?
You wanted to get thin like a...
Actually, I like that.
There, I was just that's pretty nice. Shall we end it on a walk like we began it on a walk? Overall, Mr. Liebman, any general impressions, comments you would have for the viewing audience about the Stonefield M series?
My first impression when I picked it up, you were talking about balance, and that, like I said, is something I have to get used to, but I felt it kind of leaning one way or another when I first picked it up.
Mhm.
It is a good solid instrument. The sort of displacement thing a little bit, but again, that is not a negative. The tuning thing for me would take a little getting used to.
Of course it does. Yeah.
And because if you go out of tune, especially if you're playing a show or you're doing something, you need to do it quickly. Oh yeah, I gotta,
You're
so
faster here, it's just getting used to it.
once you're
Yeah.
acclimated to that kind
Yeah.
of thinking. I know that everybody loves this bass, so it's gotten played a lot, so the strings could be a little fresher, I'm sure.
Sorry, apologies.
That would add to it a lot. No need to apologize. I don't think Duck Dunn ever changed his
Nor did
strings.
James Jamerson, right? There's a legend has it the same strings on every Motown song Jamerson ever played.
Yeah, why not? The electronics, again, very versatile, quite a spectrum of sounds. Probably more than I would need, but from what you were saying, probably more than anyone would need. Once you find your sound and leave it there, then that's good for you. And I can take this bass and use my sound, and he can take it, and she can take it, and they can all find their own sounds. It is beautiful. I especially like this.
I love
authentic.
using gnarly bits of the wood that most people would throw away.
Yeah, so it's a good looking, good sounding, good feeling bass.
Thank you, John.
And other than that, what else does there need to be?
That's great. Jon Liebman, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, John. Once again, thanks for coming in and giving us your thoughts and getting your hands on a Stonefield. Keep your eye on www.stonefieldmusic.com. Keep your eye on all of Jon Liebman's things that I mentioned earlier. We've got more coming at you in the near future. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, just a little bit more. Thank you.